Welcome to J-Pop Kissa, take a break. Picture this, a cozy table in a retro Japanese cafe, and you've just joined me here today. I'm Terence, a longtime fan of J-Pop and Japanese entertainment, especially since the 90s. While we sip something warm, I'll share what's been on my mind about the music, dramas, movies, and more. Let's take a break together. So welcome to episode 3. I am very excited to be here today because I really want to talk about this drama that I've been watching for the past few months. And then there's definitely a music lens to this. I'll definitely get to that. But first, a little history about Japanese dramas or dorama, as they may call them in Japan, is that how I relate to them actually. So I've been a huge fan since I was little. I think the first one that I've ever saw was one called 101回目の proposal. So the 101st proposal. To be honest, I don't remember that much about the story. There are some bits here and there that have been popular in the culture that they would sometimes replay as a bit, but it was basically about an older guy who doesn't seem to be that good looking. No offense to the actor, but that's the setting. And he fell in love with a younger but really beautiful woman, and kind of the relationship that they built through that. So I watched it probably when I was in kindergarten. I really don't remember, but I definitely remember watching it. But what struck me the most at the time was this song called Say Yes, which was the theme song of the drama. And theme songs are huge in Japanese dramas. And also, when you think about a lot of different shows worldwide, is that there's an opening theme, there's an ending theme, and there is usually a song that really bring the mood for the show, and they play it in key moments so you can really recall the key moments of the shows, and maybe there is a very emotional scene, maybe a character is having a breakthrough. So the songs play a huge part, and I definitely remember, even now when I'm so much older, that song, if I think of that song, I'll just listen to that song, like flashes of the scenes of the show would just come back. So Say Yes was a huge song that I love listening to, and it's a power ballad, and just, you can imagine if the show is about proposal, meaning, marriage proposal, the main character really basically wants the other person to say yes. So that was a perfect theme song, so that's something that I definitely still remember to this day. So that's how, it was one of my first memories of dramas. And then when I was a kid, or when I grew up a little bit more, when I was more in my teenage years, I would watch shows like Long Vacation, which is another one from the 90s that had really strong ratings about a younger guy and an older woman, and the actors in that show all are still famous and relevant today. But the theme song, and it's called La 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 Love Song, it was also very, I think, when I hear the intro, there's this softness to it, and then it just goes right into the chorus. It's just magical, and I can think back at it. And there's like this image and this fragrance to the 90s and Japanese entertainment that I think, or I like to imagine that fans of that time would always feel when they see the shows then, and also the themes that they deal with, but also the music. So I'll definitely leave links in the description, so I would love for all of you to check them out. But that's how it all started for me. So I've been watching shows for years, on and off, but definitely more in the past few years. I've been keeping an eye out on what shows are relevant today, what are they showing, what are the ones that intrigue me, and I'll try to watch. And they usually break them up into 4 seasons in Japan. So it's the spring, winter, summer, fall, and each season is about 3 months. So they do approximately about 10 to 11 episodes, sometimes shorter, of and 1 hour each of the story. So it's very different from the US, where a show, if they're successful, they could go on and there's be constantly new season every year. Or in streaming, they keep on just bringing that back. That does happen, but it's not frequent. It's usually a very single themed, concise story that can generally finish within 3 months. And my image of Korean dramas, I don't know as much. Definitely shorter, definitely less different character plot lines that you have to follow through. So sometimes it's very concise. It's also very easy to consume. So the timing now, as I'm recording this, is end of June of 2025. So the 2025 spring dramas have finished, I believe, or most of them have, and they're really now getting ready to advertise about the summer. So a lot more exciting shows are coming. But now what I really wanted to talk about today is a show that I watched this past season. I would say this is really the one of two that I actually followed. I glanced at a bunch of other ones. All of them are entertaining in their different ways, but there were two that I particularly watched, and this is one of them that I would love to talk about today. And the title of this in Japanese is called 続々最後から二番目の恋. So in English, the original title is called Second to Last Love. And this is actually the third season of a show that first aired in 2012. And after they did that, it was really popular. They did a sequel to it, and they had all these TV specials in between too. So it was a really, really popular show that continued for a while. But this sequel that I just watched, and as you hear now from the years that I talked about when they first aired, this is the first sequel in basically, I would say, 11 years or so. So it's been a while since the last show. But first, a little bit about the premise. So in the original show in 2012, it was basically a love comedy about two single adults in their 40s and 50s. And it's about their issues in life and the problems that they deal with at work, and also what does it mean to be, in your late 40s or 50s, single, living in Japan, dealing with people at work, dealing with family, thinking about potentially love, but then, you gain so much experience that, can you really fall in love again, or do you choose not to? So the main character, she is Chiaki. In the first season, she was 45 years old. At work, she's just someone that, you would go to and rely on, and it's well respected, but she brings a humor to it. So it's just someone that you feel like an open up to. So everybody trusts her. And then she would frequently get with her friends who are also around the same age, also single, and they would rant about life. When you think about drinking in a izakaya or going somewhere, it's just having fun and talking about, there's something happening at work, there's this happening in life, and you're just getting together. And so she's really enjoying her life, but there's also an element to her where she does feel a little bit lonely, even though she doesn't quite say it out loud sometimes. Like, she does feel that, and so, but then also not admitting to what those true feelings are. And in the midst of all that, with her friends, they talk about, hey, maybe we should move out of Tokyo, the big city, and move to somewhere a little bit more remote and enjoy the slower life pace, and they can live together. And so that city that she decided to move to was Kamakura. For those that do not know and have not been to Japan, Kamakura is a town in the prefecture over from Tokyo. I feel like it's about an hour away by train. I'm really bad with memory of the train transportation time, but it's definitely somewhere where you can go to daily if you want to, and you can live there. And then if your work happens to be in the city, you can definitely commute. So it's not that far, but it's really famous for its history, especially with its temples. There is a very famous spot where there is a big Buddha statue where you can actually go and visit. So shrines, temples, and it's also by the sea, so seafood as well is something you can enjoy. So there's a really like a seemingly slower lifestyle you can have there, and it's really cute. So she decided to move there. The two friends just flaked out on her though, so she ended up trying to rent a place by herself. And then next to, or actually, I'm skipping probably story plot lines, but basically she ended up living next to the owner of the house that she rented. And the place next door is basically a cafe / family home of this guy called Wahei, who is 50, who's also single, but he's basically a completely different kind of character. He's very hardworking. He's had to raise his 3 younger siblings growing up because their parents died early, and also his wife died early as well. So he also raised, was at the time was raising a young daughter. So he's very in Japanese called majime, so there he tries to do what's right, and he'll often go on rants and kind of like nagging at the family, like, oh, you should do this, you should not do that, and this one is what's good, and so it's a little bit tied up and wound up in a way, a little bit more pessimistic. So it's very different from Chiaki. And ultimately, the whole story is about these two characters and the family and the friends around them. And they're all very unique and different in their own ways, but mainly today I'll talk about these two characters and how throughout the seasons you see them constantly bicker each other in a way, because their life view is very different. And Chiaki eventually becomes such a good friend of the family that she'll go over and have breakfast with them every day at that family home / cafe. But then you'll hear the two kind of bicker back and forth about very minute things, like, you know, why do you want to say something like that, especially when I'm having such a good mood in the morning? Well, like, no, you're taking my work the wrong way. So it's just something that you can imagine happening if you know someone like that around you. So they go on, I would say sometimes even like 5 to 10 minutes, just the two of them talking with all the other characters there as well. And it's just so fun to watch. It's like, as I said, it's just like, it feels like you're being friends. And then just hearing their stories, and you're seeing, you know, their perspective, and it's not about who's right or wrong. It's just about them enjoying that dynamic and bickering with each other. But there's also a layer to it where they actually do really like each other, and so it really helps at least for me as a viewer, and I think that's what a little bit of the drama is trying to tell, is that, you know, as we're growing up, as we're getting older, you know, life is not that simple. It's not so much about, you know, you get married and you have kids and you have a happily ever after. Is that you're still trying to figure things out every step of the way, and you don't know what's right, you don't know what's wrong, but they don't do it in a way that's depressing. There are moments when it gets very deep and reflective, but they also bring back the humor in key moments. So it helps to, or at least it gives me a sense of optimism when I think about this drama and whenever I'm watching it. So I think that's what I really enjoyed about it. So that was the premise of the first season, and obviously it continued on. And then now, with the latest sequel that's, you know, set 11 years after their last one, it is about them also at the older age. So Chiaki, who started at 45, is now 59, about to turn 60. So in Japan, a lot of people typically retire at 60, and companies also ask, hey, now that you're 60, you should probably think about retirement. So she's wondering what she should do, and she works at a TV network as a producer for dramas. So in her 40s, you know, she did a lot and had a team, and now in the latest season she does as well. But now it's like, okay, what do I do? Like, what should be my last drama? Should I make one? Can I make one? What about all these young people? But what do I do after? So there's a lot of, it's like a different layer of thinking about life when you're older. And then Wahei, who is now in his 60s, has retired but returned. So he actually worked at like the local city government, city hall office. So just someone who's dedicated his life to Kamakura and helping to make it better. And he worked in the tourism department. But he's retired. So now after he's retired, he decided to go back. I guess it's like a contract work, so where he does not have the same seniority and position that he used to have, but he's still involved and he gets to do things. And it's cool to see or interesting to see how some of the older colleagues or like some of the former colleagues that he had would try to play this I'm your manager card on him when he's like, what the heck are you talking about? Like you're not forcing me to do these things. So it's very interesting. But he's just someone who loves Kamakura and is always worried and trying to think and also apologize on other people's behalf. But he's also thinking about life because his daughter started in his teens in the show, is now an adult. So what happens when she leaves the house finally? And so it's seeing them from their 40s and 50s and then seeing them at a different age about the worries and the issues they're going through, but also we're wondering like, hey, are these two getting together or not? So it's very cool. And then the catch copy that they have is basically, and I'm translating as I'm reading it, so it may not be exact, but basically, even no matter how old we get, we want to stay in love with the future. We want to still be in love with the future. So with time, as we grow old, maybe things do not go well. Maybe we have more worries, and especially with more experience, we may not necessarily get better at dealing with things. But even in all that, life goes on, and we can, look at it from a loving perspective. And age is only a number. And we can, stumble forward in a way and kind of awkwardly but lovingly, and we can may have to push back against that age number, but we can still live with joy and with spirit and funk. And no matter how old we get, we can still continue to move forward into the future. So this is basically a catch copy I'm translating, so these are not exactly my words, but this is the gist of the story and what they're trying to convey. And then the sentiment is that, for people that are around the same age as the characters, maybe it's 50s or 60s, maybe they call it an oenka, so it's like a song that would cheer you on to help motivate you to go forward. Maybe it's one that can be for them, but maybe for the younger generation, this could be a guidepost, for anyone who's trying to figure out what to do in life. So this is something that I really resonate with, in how life is not necessarily about one way or the other. There is no right answer, and I think sometimes, at least for me, I went through life thinking, hey, maybe I'll figure things out when I'm this age. Or I would know exactly what I'm supposed to be or what my purpose is in life. But, the older I get, the more I realize, hey, I actually don't know anything. But there's fun and there is this wonder in all those moments that I think that still makes life worth living, and there's this enjoyment that I can get. So I really love how they bring in all these characters and different layers, and we see them stumble and at times don't seem cool. But that's, the loving part of that. That's their attractiveness in a way is, they are trying to figure things out just like any one of us is. So if you were to ask me exactly what the huge or the overarching plot is for this show or all 3 seasons, I don't think I can necessarily tell you, but I think that is the beauty of it, is that it's not about some huge dramatic plot line. It's just about these people going through their lives and figuring things out, or not. But it does end on a very poetic note, which I don't want to spoil on this podcast because I feel like I really want people to watch it. So if you have a chance to watch this show called Second to Last Love or 最後から二番目の恋, but the sequel is called Zoku Zoku. They add on top of that to say it's a sequel. I really think you should watch it because it's so cute. But I also want to call out the main characters. So Chiaki and Wahei, they are played by two legendary actors in the Japanese entertainment industry. So Chiaki is played by Koizumi Kyoko, and then Wahei is played by Nakai Kiichi. So Koizumi Kyoko is not just an actor, she's a singer who's been around since the 80s. So she's one of those 80s legendary idol, and in J-pop entertainment industry, idol is usually someone who is very. I don't know how to say this. It's like they can dance, they can sing, they can act, they can do everything, and a lot of them back then were very produced. Still now to this day, but I think there's more depth to it, and I'll get to the topic of what Japanese idol is at a later point in another show maybe. But she's been a legend. So she plays this character with such humor and such depth and grounded in reality. Like I can totally see someone quirky like that, just being really cool and someone you want to hang out with. So she's Chiaki, and then Nakai Kiichi is also another legendary actor. So what's really cool also is that now going to the J-pop theme. So with the opening and ending songs, with the ending song, the two actors basically covered a song called ダンスに間に合う, which translates to roughly something like "You can still make it to the dance." It's a song that was originally released by this group called 思い出やろう A Team in 2017, and it's basically a very sweet, soulful number where there is a lot of brass strings, and you kind of just want to sway when you're listening to it. So the message just, when you listen to it, it seems to say that, hey, you can still do it even if you look bad, or even if things don't go well, you can still make it to your dance as long as we dance and we don't give up. So there is a really cool video of them singing it as well. They're all dressed up, and so yeah, I'll definitely put the link in the description, so I hope you can listen to that. So that is a really good song that links to that. But another song, the opening, is called Mimosa by Hamasaki Ayumi. So for people that know a certain level of J-pop, especially in the past 2 decades, they will definitely know who Ayu is, who has been who's been around since the late 90s. And she, at her height, she was selling millions of copies every year and I think she may be the only solo female artist with the most #1 singles on the Japanese kind of ranking chart they call Oricon. So she was a legend, and she's still releasing music, and she also sang the theme songs for the last 2 seasons as well. So she came back and she wrote the lyrics with another person she wrote the lyrics, and then the song was composed by I'll say in the English way, so Kunio Taro, who also wrote a lot of her famous, I would say, ballads. And this song, it does come in a kind of slower tempo. What's really great about this song is it's just another oenka, as I mentioned earlier, like a song that would just motivate you and cheer you on. And, it's like telling you that it's okay, that everything that you've been through and, going through life, things may not necessarily go well, but, we've strived to do whatever we can, and we're still here today, and, that's enough. And then that's what I'm feeling from this song. And especially when you think about how, when you grow up, not everything goes well. And so, it's not so much about, trying to forget all that or trying to just smile, but, as long as we're here, and as long as you're here, then that's what matters. And so this is a song that I think it's very soothing. Definitely recommend a listen as well, and hopefully that can help bring an image as to what this song is. And yeah, it's definitely a drama that I really loved, and especially when I was very tired from work or whatever it was, it would be that one time a week where I felt at ease. And so definitely this is a drama that I highly recommend for anyone that's interested and looking for something that's soothing, and you can relax and just watch and reflect on your life in a good way, and all that is about you and those around you. So that is it for today's episode. If there's anything to get out of this today, is that I hope you have discovered about what Japanese drama or dorama can be, and that this is a very fun drama. And I'll share a link as to the preview too, so even if it doesn't have subtitles in the trailer, I hope you can get a feel as to what this is. And I'll hope you, when you're searching for the next drama on Netflix or whatever streaming service, you can maybe try and see if there is a Japanese drama that could be fun for you to watch as well. Again, thanks for joining me at the table today. I'll be back soon with more to share. Until then, take care and enjoy your next cup of J-pop entertainment.